Hello students, a warm greetings to all. Let's continue the rest part of your story or Manishan here and today. Students, before having gone through with it, it's time to recollect the things that were dealt with in our previous class. Considering your previous session, what did we get to see? Is it when the story opened up, what was seen to us is that it was quite a big city where the narrator of this story had gone to. After having reached it, the narrator of this story didn't have any exact plans or definite plans as to where he had to go and what he had to do for his survival. He simply kept wandering all across the streets of that big city. Even he didn't have a single penny or single rupee in his pocket. You just imagine yourself, how could a man survive in his life having no money in his hand? Definitely a man couldn't survive in his life having no money in his hand. Why? Because is it we couldn't get respect by the people of the society when we have had no money in our hand, so that we couldn't do anything having no money. But our narrator had gone to a big city having no money in his hand. Besides, he couldn't speak the local language which was being spoken by the inhabitants of that big city. He could only speak English and Hindustani, but very few inhabitants of that city could speak either of those two languages. Now, after having seen the bad plight of this our narrator, we came to know that the position or condition that the narrator was in makes us to understand that this miserable condition could land him or place him in many predicaments, or we can say in many crises. At the same time, many adventurous deeds would also happen. And later, what we got to see is that our narrator found himself in a very dangerous situation which he couldn't easily come out of from. Simultaneously, a total stranger with whom our narrator was totally unfamiliar came to him and rescued his life. After being rescued, our narrator could remember him throughout his life. And he asked himself a question, why he did so? Why did he save his life? In the following paragraph, what we came across is that the narrator of this story narrated us a story which he experienced in his life. What he said is that he had some vague notions about human beings and himself as well. Why he said like that is that we couldn't easily understand the human beings. Why? Because is that human beings' life is very complicated one. It's like a web. So that narrator told his readers that he had been left with some vague notions about human beings and himself as well. There were some people around him who were good and thieves as well. And some of the people around him in that big city were suffering from infectious diseases and from madness as well. So that our narrator told his readers that one had to live his life very carefully if he or she was the part of any area. And later he made us to understand that the whole world was full of evil things than good. When do we understand this fact is that when we get hurt, when we experience the cruel things of the life, we can understand the fact that the whole world is full of evil things rather than the good one. And later what became across is that he kept telling his readers that he had gone to a big city with the purpose of getting a job. He was in quest of a job, so that he had gone to a big city which was 1,500 miles far away from his home. It was situated in the valley of a mountain. To such a place our narrator had gone seeking a job. The inhabitants of that big city were very cruel. They had never been known the quality of mercy. They were totally merciless people. For money they would do anything. They wouldn't show any kind of sympathy over the people who were in need. They didn't know the concept of or the element of compassion. Totally, the people were very cruel in nature. And later we were introduced some professions which were carried out by the inhabitants of that city. Murder, robbery and pickpocketing were the daily appearances of that big city. If we started looking at back, what we come across is that by tradition, the people of that city were professional soldiers who joined a royal army. And some of the people of that big city went to some distant places and lent out money on interest. In order to earn money for their survival in their life, they had gone to a very distant places from their native place and gave the money that they earned in their life on interest. Many people of that city worked as watchmen in the mills, banks and large commercial establishments. Moreover, what we got to see is that money was the only thing which was highly valued by these people. For money, these people wouldn't mind killing another people. They would do anything. They wouldn't mind even committing a murder for the sake of money. This is the place where I stopped teaching you people. Let's see what happens over there in the following paragraph. I stayed in that big city in a very small and dingy room on a dirty street. Our narrator, he says that he stayed in a very small room. He took a shelter in a very small room where we could hardly find enough space. It was very a small room in structure. And besides, the room that our narrator stayed in was very dingy. It was totally unclean. It was full of dirt. In such a room, our narrator had taken shelter in. Even the street where that room was built that was a dirty one. This is the place where the narrator of this story stayed. I carried on a profession there. After staying in that room, our narrator took himself on a profession there, that is, teaching English to some migrant laborers from 9:30 to 11 in the night. Our narrator, for his livelihood, and we can say for his bread and butter, our narrator carried on a profession. He took a profession all along with him for his livelihood. Why? Because he had to survive in his life. That is the reason why he had gone to such a big city in seeking a job. After settling his life in such a small and dingy room, our narrator was in a profession, that is, teaching English to some migrant laborers. Here, what do you people understand about the word migrant laborers? Migrant is a term which describes us about where the people go on, where the people go from one place to another place in finding or in searching a job. That's what we call migrant. They keep changing the places as they seek a job. To some migrant laborers, our narrator has taught English for his livelihood and for his bread and butter. From 9:30 to 11 in the night, these were the laborers, the people whom our narrator had taught English language. Is it? They were the laborers. The people, one who worked for the daily wages, is called the laborers. Especially they were the migrant laborers, one who keeps changing their previous place to a new place is called migrant laborers. They were the daily wages to whom our narrator had taught English. At what time did our narrator teach English? Is that from 9:30 to 11 in the night. Even it was a night, why had he taught them English? Is it as these migrant laborers indulge in their working at a daytime, they couldn't be able to come to our classes to attend. They totally involved in the work that they are assigned to. So, these migrant laborers couldn't be able to come to attend the classes. So that our narrator taught them English at 9:30 to 11 in the night. I taught them to write addresses in English. The narrator of this story had taught these migrant laborers especially how to write addresses in English language. That is the thing that we should notice over here. What were the concepts being taught by our narrator? Is that only to make these migrant laborers to write the addresses in the English language. Learning to write an address in English was considered a great education there. Why he had taught writing an address to migrant laborers is that learning to write an address in the English language was a great education. The people, the inhabitants of the big city considered writing an address in English was a great education. Though students will have to appreciate the spirit or the enthusiasm that the migrant laborers gained. Why? Because is that all the day they kept working in a place where they were assigned to. Though they were exhausted after finishing their jobs, they made their way forward towards our narrator's room to learn how to write addresses in English. So that we have to admire the aspiration of those migrant laborers. You must have seen people who write addresses at the post office. And here, some people are there in our society who could write addresses at the post office for their livelihood. By writing addresses, they could earn money for their livelihood. Always such people are at the post office to write addresses for the people who couldn't write and read. They were paid anything between 1 anna to 4 annas for writing an address. The people who write an address to the people who couldn't read and write, they were paid 1 annas to 4 annas. Here, students, 1 annas to 4 annas represent a sort of a kind of currency being used formerly in India, Pakistan and Burma. It's a currency formerly used in India, Burma and Pakistan. And those people were paid or were given anything between 1 anna to 4 anna for writing an address in English language. That's why the inhabitants of that locality considered writing an addresses in English language was great education there. I taught the skill of writing addresses to people in order to escape the same fate myself and to see if I could save some money. Why had our narrator taught the skill of writing and addresses to the migrant laborers is it to escape from the fate that our narrator had faced in his life and to see if he could save some money for his livelihood. After making his way towards this big city, he had no option at all. He found himself in a job that is teaching English to the migrant laborers. So he had to carry with this profession only. He had to live, he had to survive in his life. So that, and our narrator had to see if he could save some money for his livelihood. That's why he went on teaching an address to the migrant laborers how to write an address in English language. In those days, I would sleep all the day. What our narrator did staying in his room is that he would sleep all the day, which means he had slept all through the day and wake up at 4 in the evening. All through the day, our narrator had gone nowhere else instead of staying in his room. He had no alternative at all. He had no one there to rescue him. He had no relatives, he had no friends there in that big city. So he would always sleep in his own room all alone till 4 p.m. and wake up at 4 in the evening. When did he come into consciousness is that when the time got 4 o'clock in the evening, our narrator came back to his life. He was awakened when the time got 4 p.m. This is the daily routine of our Narrator. This was to save the expense of drinking my morning tea or eating the noon meal. Why he did so is that our narrator had to save the expense of drinking the morning tea or breakfast and eating the noon meal. He had a low income from his job, from his profession, teaching English to migrant laborers. He had no money. He had no enough money in his hand, so that our narrator had to save some money for his rest of his life, for his survival, so that our narrator would sleep all through the day doing nothing. He had slept all alone in his dingy room, and he would wake up at 4 p.m. This was only to, why had he done is that this was only to save the expense which he spent on for his drinking tea in the morning and noon meal. One day, I got up at 4 p.m. as usual. In the previous paragraph, we came to know the fact that every day our narrator came into conscious at 4 p.m. That was the routine of our narrator. Already we have got to know the reason which was left behind it. As usual, our narrator one very fine day, he got up or he woke up at 4 p.m. as usual. I finished my daily chores and stepped out for my tea and meal. As it was observed by all of us, our narrator finished his daily chores. Daily chores in a sense, the minor works should be finished, they should be, which should be completed in his home. After finishing his daily chores in his dingy room, our narrator stepped his foot out of his room to have a tea and meal. Already we have got to know in our previous class the fact that our narrator, when the time got 4 p.m., he would have his tea and meal. That is what the narrator says here. After the completion of his daily chores or the small works being done by our narrator made his way forward to have his tea and noon meal when the time got 4 p.m. You must understand that I was dressed in a suit. After having seen this statement or this line, we can come to know the fact that our narrator must have been the daily, or we can say the regular customer to the restaurant which our narrator had gone to have his tea and noon meal. Here you must understand the fact that our narrator was dressed in a suit, or we can say in a coat. He had a wallet in his coat pocket. In that coat, which he dressed while going out of his room to have a meal and tea, our narrator had a wallet, or we can say purse in his coat. The coat that he had worn had a pocket in it. Our narrator had kept a wallet or purse in that coat, which had a 14 rupees in it. The wallet that our narrator had kept inside his pocket, it had 14 rupees in it, which was his life's savings. Here, the 14 rupees that our narrator had kept inside his pocket, inside his wallet, that was his life's savings. Having seen this fact, we can understand the fact that how our narrator hardly gained or earned the money teaching addresses to the migrant laborers. By this, we can also come to know that what the miserable circumstances that our narrator was facing in that big city. Only the 14 rupees at that time was his life savings. Since he started working for his survival, he saved only 14 rupees, which was his life savings. I entered a crowded restaurant. After having a 14 rupees in his wallet, which was kept inside his pocket in his coat, our narrator made his way forward towards the restaurant to have his tea and noon meal. The restaurant that our narrator had gone in was fully crowded. There were many people all around inside the restaurant. It was fully crowded. Everywhere inside the restaurant there were people eating and drinking something. Our narrator had gone into such a restaurant where many people were inside. There were scores of people inside that restaurant, which was fully crowded. I had a full meal consisting of chapatis and meat curry. What had he done after entering such a crowded restaurant is that he had ordered a full meal comprising of chapatis and meat curry. As he felt hungry, our narrator ordered a full meal comprising of chapatis and meat curry, which means it is a non-veg. Meat curry is a non-veg meal. After having a meal which was served by one of the employee of that restaurant, our narrator drank tea as well. After the completion of his eating, our narrator drank tea as well. The bill came to him around 11 hours. After having consumed chapatis and meat curry and tea as well, the bill came to him, which was around 11 hours. How much our narrator had to pay is it he had to pay 11 annas for consuming chapatis and meat curry. I put my hand in my coat pocket to pay it. On receiving the bill, our narrator put his hand inside his pocket to take out the rupee that he had in his wallet. So that our narrator had put his hand in his coat to pay the money. How much he had to pay? 11 annas. So that our narrator put his hand inside his pocket to take out 11 annas out of his pocket. I began sweating profusely. When our narrator put his hand inside his pocket, he found nothing in his pocket. At the same moment, when he found nothing in his pocket, our narrator started sweating, or we can say our narrator started giving perspiration. That's what we call sweating. Perspiration. It's a salty fluid. Our narrator started producing perspiration abundantly or heavily. We can say abundantly, which means heavily. After having found no wallet inside his pocket, our narrator started giving a perspiration out of his face and almost digested in an instant all that he had eaten earlier. In a very short duration of time, our narrator was scared, so that almost everything was digested as he was frightened, having no wallet inside his pocket. So that our narrator, in a very short duration of time, everything was digested that our narrator had eaten earlier. Before this moment, our narrator had eaten chapatis and meat curry. Both of them were digested in an instant time. That's what we call in a very short duration of time. Everything was digested as he was scared, having no money in his pocket. The reason was my wallet was there. Why had our narrator produced a perspiration or salty fluid? Is it he found no wallet inside his pocket? The reason the wallet was not there. He found or discovered that the wallet was not inside his pocket. He found the fact that someone had pickpocketed his wallet out of his pocket. This is what he discovered after putting his hand inside his pocket. I said, someone has picked my pocket and taken away my wallet. Now, our narrator was in a pathetic condition. Now, our narrator was totally scared, having no wallet in his pocket. So, our narrator, having no alternative, he came to the owner of the restaurant and said to him, someone has picked my pocket. He said to the owner of the restaurant that someone has chosen my pocket and has pickpocketed my wallet. That's what he says here. Someone has chosen my pocket and has pickpocketed my wallet and taken away my wallet. That is what he says here. Someone has taken away my wallet out of my pocket. It was a very busy restaurant. In our previous paragraph, we came to know that it was a crowded restaurant. Everywhere inside the restaurant, people all around, standing and sitting. It was such a very busy restaurant. It was fully crowded. The owner gave a loud guffaw, startling everyone around. On listening to the words of our narrator, when he says, someone has picked my pocket and taken away my wallet, on listening to these words, the owner of the restaurant produced a loud guffaw. Guffaw in the sense, a loud laugh. This shows the laughing of the owner of the restaurant shows us that the people of that city were merciless. He had never shown the sympathy towards our narrator. When the narrator was in such a miserable condition, even the owner of the restaurant was very rich. He had anything in his hand. He hadn't shown his compassion or sympathy towards our narrator. Instead, the owner of the restaurant gave him a loud laughing towards our narrator. This shows us the tendency that the inhabitants of that big city inherited in them. They were totally merciless people. The owner of the restaurant took an advantage of the situation that the narrator was in, startling everyone around The loud guffaw that the owner of the restaurant gave towards the narrator of this story startled everyone, startled in a sense, surprised everyone. All the people who were inside the restaurant were shocked after having witnessed or seen the loud guffaw which was produced by the owner of the restaurant at our narrator. Everyone who was inside that busy restaurant were startled, or we can say were shocked to see the loud guffaw of the owner of the restaurant. He caught me by the lapels of my coat and shaking me, cried, "This trick won't work here." The owner of the restaurant took hold of the lapels of my coat, lapels in a sense, collar. The owner of the restaurant took hold of the collar of his coat. All of a sudden, the owner of the restaurant hurriedly he took hold of the collar of the coat of our narrator to take control of him. That's how he took an advantage of the situation and shaken him. After having taken hold of the coat of the narrator, the owner of the restaurant shaken him and cried again. The owner of the restaurant shouted at him very loud, in a very loud voice, "This trick won't work here. It doesn't work here. Your tactics don't work here. You have to put the money down and go out of here." That's what he says here. Put the money down and go, else I will gouge your eyes out. What the owner of the restaurant says is that put the money down. Otherwise, put the money down and go out of this restaurant. Otherwise, I will gouge out your money. Which means gouge. What do you people mean by gouge? Is that remove the eyes out of someone's eyes, someone's face. This is what we call gouge. Else I will gouge your eyes out. This is how the owner of the restaurant threatened our narrator if he doesn't give the money that was given to him as an expense for eating or consuming food and tea at that crowded restaurant. I looked at the people around me. Now the narrator was totally scared. He was totally frightened. He doesn't know. He doesn't know anyone. No one comes forward towards our narrator to rescue him. He had no friend at all. In the initial stage of this story, we came to know the fact that our narrator had no relative or no friend at all in that big city. In that crowded restaurant, our narrator had no alternative at all. He had no substitute. I looked at the people around him. Our narrator started looking at the people around him who were feeding themselves. Our narrator started gazing at the people who were feeding themselves with a fear as he was scared. And I didn't see even one kind face there. After having seen all the people who were inside the busy restaurant consuming the food on their own, our narrator didn't see any face whose face was full of mercy. He didn't see even a kind face there who would come forward to save our narrator. Totally, all the people in that big city were merciless. That's what he says here. That's what he witnesses there inside the busy restaurant. He didn't see even a single face, even a single kind face. They had the look of hungry wolves. Have a look at the sentence that our narrator as usual here. They had the look of hungry wolves. All the people who were around the narrator inside the big restaurant or busy restaurant, they had the look at our narrator like hungry wolves, which is very dangerous animal. All the people who surrounded our narrator inside the restaurant stared at our narrator. They kept looking at our narrator. They glared at him. They kept an eye at our narrator. They had seen nowhere else instead of looking at our narrator. These people also, like the owner of the restaurant, took an advantage of the miserable condition or pathetic condition that our narrator was in. If he said he would gouge my eyes out, he would gouge them out. And here, this is what our narrator realizes the position that he was in. If he said he would gouge my eyes out, he would gouge them out. He realized the fact that he would definitely gouge or remove my eyes out from my face. This is what he understood over there. I said, let my coat be here. He had no alternative at all. He had to surrender himself to the owner of the restaurant. So, our narrator came very closer to the owner of the restaurant and said him, let my coat be here. Our narrator, after having no alternative in his hand, he surrendered himself, saying that, let my coat be here. I would keep my coat here before you until I return to your hotel, until I come back to your restaurant. Let me go out of your restaurant and to bring some money. That's what he says. Let my coat be here. I will go and bring some money. If you allow me, if you permit me, I will go out of this restaurant to bring some money to pay it. So that our narrator surrenders himself before the owner of the restaurant, saying that he would keep his coat that he had worn while coming into this busy restaurant. He would keep that here only as an alternative for the money that he had to pay. And if you allow me, I will go to bring some money to pay it. The restaurant keeper laughed again. On listening those words of the narrator, the restaurant owner again laughed at our narrator. After taking a view or look at the narrator's position, again the restaurant keeper produced a laughing at our narrator. Again, by this, our belief becomes stronger that all the people were totally merciless in that big city. He asked me to take off my coat, and later the narrator says that the owner of the restaurant admitted with the sayings of our narrator, that is, let my coat be here. After having heard those words from our narrator, the owner of the restaurant admitted with the words of him, so that the keeper of the restaurant asked our narrator to take off, or we can say remove his coat, which means by this we can understand that the owner of the restaurant wanted our narrator to go naked. He wanted to humiliate our narrator. By this, and we can also realize the fact that the owner of the restaurant humiliates our narrator. And this is how the narrator experiences the embarrassing experience in that big city. He asked him to take off his coat. I took off my coat. Now the narrator, after having heard the words of the owner of the restaurant, he took off his coat. Our narrator removed his coat. He had no alternative at all instead of doing this work. So that having no alternative, having no one from his side to rescue his life out of this position, our narrator, finding no one next to him to save his life, our narrator removed his coat. That's what we call took off. Our narrator took off his coat. Again, the owner of the restaurant asked me to take off my shirt. He keeps telling the narrator to take off his shirt as well. He never stopped himself asking our narrator to remove his coat, his shirt. Again, he asked in a commanding voice to our narrator that to take off his shirt as well. On listening this, our narrator removed his shirt as well. He found himself in such a miserable condition, which was very pathetic one. He took off his shirt as well. Again, he asked me to take off both of my shoes. The owner of the restaurant again asked him in a commanding voice to take off both of his shoes. Our narrator, having no alternative, he removed both of his shoes. By this, we can come to know that he completely surrendered before the owner of the restaurant. Finally, he asked me to take off my trousers. At last, the narrator of the restaurant, as he took the advantages of the situation that the narrator was in, he wanted to make our narrator completely naked. He wanted to humiliate him. He asked me to take off my trousers. That's what he did over there. The owner of the restaurant, he asked our narrator in an commendable voice that to take off his trousers. So the idea seemed to be strip me and gouge out my house and send me out naked. The tendency which was shown by the owner of the restaurant says that the idea that the owner kept in his mind seemed or appeared to be strip me, or that's what we call strip me in the sense remove clothes. The idea of the owner of the restaurant was only to strip our narrator or to remove his clothes out of his body and gouge out my eyes. And the another idea that the owner kept in his mind, that was to remove my eyes out of my face and send me out naked out of this restaurant before all the people who were inside it. The restaurant keeper said, and I said, I have nothing on underneath. When our narrator was commanded or ordered by the owner of the restaurant to take off his trousers, our narrator said he had nothing underneath. He had no clothes at all. inside his trouser. That's what he says. Everyone laughed. Everyone who was inside that big busy restaurant laughed at our narrator. The restaurant keeper said, I doubt it. You must have something on underneath. The restaurant keeper said, I doubt it. He had suspected about our narrator. As he said, he had nothing underneath. So that the restaurant keeper said in that he suspected, and he said that he must have something underneath. He must have something inside his trouser. About 50 people repeated, there must be something on underneath. The people who were inside the busy restaurant, they did the same thing as the restaurant keeper had done. Around 50 people repeated the same words that the owner of the restaurant had done. There must be something on underneath. There must be something inside. You would have something inside his trouser. This is what was repeated by the people who were inside the busy restaurant. Students, let us stop over here. The rest part of this story will be dealt in our very next class. I thank you all for listening to me all through the way. Thank you.